we do deal with business owners that own cannabis companies. There are banks that approve cannabis funding. Qualifications for all the programs on this flyer: minimal credit score is a 680. The time in business, specifically for cannabis companies, 2 years in business. And this is a list of documents that are requested. Number one, a bank questionnaire. Bank questionnaire is our form of an application. Number two, last 3 years of your business tax returns. Next one up is last 3 years of your personal tax returns, a year-to-date P&L, a year-to-date balance sheet, and the last 4 months business bank statements. Finally, it's a business debt schedule. A business debt schedule is very important because the bank wants to understand what other responsibilities you have. What other monthly obligations do you have? Do you have any other UCC liens against you that haven't been satisfied? If you're going to open up another cannabis shop and you need $100,000, they want to make sure that if they give you the $100,000, you use that money to open up the cannabis shop. They do not want you to have access to the money. Then all of a sudden you owe Joe Schmo $20,000. You owe this other person $20,000. Business debt schedule is very, very important because they want to understand what other debt you have. We also have what are called stated business lines of credit. This is good for either businesses that revenue has dropped, they're pre-revenue, right? They can be 2 years in business, but still started off slow, or they do not have the $100,000 gross revenue that you would need in order for a bank to evaluate you. So what happens here is it's stated, meaning that you do not have to provide any bank statements. You do not have to provide any business tax returns. The only thing you have to provide is bank questionnaire, which is once again the application, business articles, EIN letter, driver's license, and the business debt schedule again. Some of these banks, they are, some, not all, they're smaller community banks that, and you'd be surprised how DocuSign isn't accessible for a lot of these banks. Right? It's not available. That option is not available. So you have to walk into a branch and wet sign the contract or the agreement. Some of these banks also require you to open up an account with them, because if they're going to give you money, they want to also earn that relationship. They want to earn your business. Some of these banks that we've built relationships with, they are either community bank or just regional in certain states. What's happening now is that a lot of people are starting to take advantage of obtaining financing. It really has helped people to obtain traditional financing because they know what's coming, and just they're getting prepared for securing a line of credit before the tariffs are increased, right? I believe with China it's in 90 days from June 1st, right? So they're preparing. So no, it has not stopped. Banks have not gotten scared. They have not tightened up. They are still, if they did, then they wouldn't be providing stated business lines of credit where you do not have to show tax returns or bank statements. Our unsecured term loan, all right, that's also 2 years in business. One of the things that a lot of business owners believe that when you use the word secured and unsecured, they believe that it's something's collateral, right? If it's secured, it means that you're providing collateral. That's not necessarily true. Sometimes banks use the word secured and unsecured depending on if there is a UCC filing or not. That means that if it's $50,000 or below, they do not have to file a UCC. UCC stands for Uniform Commercial Code. A UCC is filed when traditionally you take out a bank loan. Anything above $50,000, that just is, you're registered as, it's kind of like a lien, so to speak, right? Until you make that payment, until you pay that debt to the bank, then they'll lift that lien. But that's what a UCC lien is, right? For this particular program, there's no UCC filing. All we need is a bank questionnaire, last 2 years of business tax returns, last 2 years of personal tax returns, a year-to-date profit and loss, year-to-date balance sheet, last 4 months bank statements, and a business debt schedule. Why not go for something traditional if you're asking the same documentation as someone that can qualify for traditional type of financing? Why not go for traditional? Reason why is because you have to look at the business debt schedule. That's why this is very important. The business debt schedule will let you know what route you can take. Example, we had a client that had provided a business debt schedule. They had an SBA loan they took out 2 months ago for, I believe it was $700,000. They had about $200,000 in merchant cash advances. Based on their tax returns, and on average, banks would approve anywhere between 20 to 25% of your gross revenue. Based on that, they only qualify for about, I believe it was 400 to 500,000. So when it's a bigger number, when it's above 50,000, anything that has a UCC lien has to be paid off. So if you have a $400,000 approval right now from a bank, but you have a UCC lien from an SBA loan and it's 700,000, right off the bat you failed, because you're not, the 400,000 will not be able to pay off that $700,000 debt. So that's why the balance business debt schedule is very important. That's why sometimes it's easier for you to just go for a quick $50,000. They don't care about what other debt you have on the business. They don't care about what other UCC liens are on there. I had a client that defaulted on 4 cash advances. The cash advance company filed a UCC lien on the client. He also had a bank loan. We were able to give him $50,000 in 48 hours. Some of these banks we work with, depending on where you're at, they are able to close within 48 hours. That's insane. A business line of credit with a traditional bank closing in 48 hours, that's unheard of, right? Most people thought it was a cash advance, but this was a business line of credit. I believe the rate was at 13% APR. Had he chosen a term loan, I believe it was going to be 8.5% over 5 years. However, they did not need all the funds at what time they wanted to. It's a revolving line of credit, so they wanted to be able to use it, pay it off, use it, pay it off, as opposed to a term loan where you get the 50,000 and that's it. Until you pay it off, can you reapply for another type of funding? There's a lot of people out there that do merchant cash advances, do short-term type of financing. I've spoken to a few ISOs we picked up and were able to gain a lot of business from our trip in Miami, where I have an ISO sending me over deals, and they've used now our traditional term loan programs to fund their merchant cash advance, because the client can either use it to pay down the utilization on their personal credit. So now they're transferring the business debt onto the business and removing it from their personal credit score. They are using that money for a gap or short-term financing, because they already have the exit strategy in place. So it's easier for a client now to take that cash advance with an early payoff discount, because this type of funding can take, a max that I've seen has been 30 business days. Okay, it can close as soon as 48 hours. It can take as long as 30 business days if everything is in order. One important thing is that when you do click on the credit reports, when you click on the report that you're trying to get, whether it's Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion, please make sure that you print your report. When you print the report, it will print the report detailed. When you print the report, you don't necessarily have to print it on the printer. You can print it and save it as a PDF. That's the destination you want to send it to. You do not want to send it to your printer. Send it to Save as PDF. All this is going to do, when you click on that and you hit print, it's going to open up your browser or your folder. You have to label it. Once you label it, then you're able to email us that particular PDF. It will save it as a PDF on their computer. Very important is, if you want to get funding for your business, make sure that your business is a real business. You have to make sure that you have a business phone number. Even if it reroutes to your cell phone, that's okay. Whether it's an 800 number or a different phone number, because then you want to register that to 311, right? You want to register that to your Google profile. You want to register that, to just everywhere, so that whenever someone's looking for you or someone's looking for the business, your business is visible. Someone can contact that business, because it does make a big difference for funding if your cell phone number is your business number, right? It's real easy to go ahead and just get a business number, whether it's through GoDaddy, Call8, Ring Central, and all they do is reroute and ring on your cell phone. Okay, so that's very important, and that's something that a lot of business owners fail to put on there or fail to establish for their business. Any bank relationships you may have at the moment. Who do you bank with? Maybe you have a bank account with Chase. Maybe you have a bank account with Wells Fargo. Just what's their name? Why? Because we also look at that when we go ahead and provide funding or look at funding options for you. Because you may have a relationship with PNC already. PNC gives out great amount of money. Now, you don't have, we can go directly there and get you the money that you need, and it doesn't become a headache. You don't have to go out and open up an account somewhere else. You don't have to start over and open up a new relationship with another bank. You've already built the relationship. So we ask, who do you currently bank with? The next portion is, do you have Experian.com account? The reason why is we want to make sure there's no new increase. There's been 2 clients that have been declined, I think in the last year, because they had too many increase. They failed. They did not want. Why do I have to give this to you? Why am I giving you my Experian.com account? Why? We want to make sure that we put together a great profile. If we're going to spend our time trying to get you funded, and the only way that we are able to ensure your success is by making sure you have a clean profile, why not? Or better yet, what am I going to do with your Experian.com account? Take out another credit card that's going to go to you? What can I possibly do with your Experian account? Explain that to me. I just don't understand why some business owners they put on this, they choose not to provide you the information. You really can't do much with this. Okay, what am I going to do? Freeze your account? For lock your credit? But just please be mindful. The reason why we ask these questions, there's a purpose for the reason for us asking these questions. Next one is the business information. What's the business legal name, right? What's the DBA? It can be Jose Martinez Construction, doing business as, I don't know, ABC Construction, right? It could be something completely different. Jose Martinez Group, doing business as ABC Construction, right? So that's also important. When was it established, right? Because, the state it was established. Why? Because as you saw before, different banks have different state requirements. Only certain states can obtain funding, and that can be because maybe the bank is only in those certain states. So that's what's important for us to understand. What state was the business established in? I've seen this a lot. I've seen a lot of companies open up or incorporate in Delaware because they've heard they heard it on TikTok, or they saw it on social media where Delaware protects their privacy, but they're running out of New York. They run their business out of New York. Now, if we go in and look at the Secretary of State for New York, but they're based out of Delaware, we're never going to be able to find that business. Right? So that's also very important. What's the business EIN number? Right? What's your social security for the business? That's very important. If you're a sole prop, some individuals, some business owners do use their social as the EIN number. However, a handful of business owners do separate that and have an EIN number given to them by the IRS. And then what percentage of ownership do you own? Okay, 100%, 50%, 10%, whatever the case may be, make sure that we understand what percentage of ownership, because we do not want to begin the process, fill out the application, we're almost there, then the bank checks the Secretary of State and there's another owner. Now we have to start the process all over again because we have to add him or her, or because you did not meet the minimum percentage of ownership. Business formation date. When was it established? When did you create this legal entity? This plays a role because, remember, some banks require you to be in business for at least 6 months. Some require you to be in business for 1 year. Business industry. What type of industry are you in? And then brief description of business operations. You can be in construction, but you can do commercial construction. Skyscrapers, high rises. Please put that down and be as descriptive as possible. Business address. Your business address can be different than your home address. If you're a home-based business, obviously your business address is your home address. If you are not, maybe you have a small office. Maybe you're a truck driver and you have a lot in which you put your trucks in. That's your business address. It's always best to have two different addresses, business and personal. Even if you set up a virtual office, make sure that you separate the two. Next question is, do you have a business bank account? Yes or no? Once again, talking about relationships. If you have an account already with Wells Fargo is a relationship bank. They want to make sure that if you are applying for any type of their funding, that you have a relationship with them. So if you already have a relationship with some of these banks, you're already ahead of the game. And if yes, what are your average deposits? All right. Have you filed your last 2 years' business tax returns? If yes, what's the annual business income? Have you applied for business credit cards in the past? Yes or no? If yes, what kind of business credit cards do you have? What are the limits and what are the balances? That's important because utilization does play a role in your approval. All right. You cannot have a card that's close to being maxed out, but you're looking for more credit. Works similar to how it does on the personal side. No bank will go ahead and give you money, or chances are they're not going to approve you if all your cards are close to being maxed out. So we have to understand that to set the proper expectations, maybe you have to take out a cash advance to make a payment on the credit card, and then the utilization drops, and now you're able to get 100 to 150,000. Sometimes something as little as that is the difference of you obtaining a large sum of money. If needed, are you able to walk into a bank and open a bank account? Once again, some banks are relationship banks. Some banks, you need to have a relationship with them. As Daryl mentioned before, they want to be able to make sure that if you have overdrafts, they collect the money. How do the banks make money? Fees, right? They want to make sure that they can collect as much money as possible. If they're going to lend you the money, they want to make as much money as possible from you. How much business funding are you looking for? Don't put max, put a number there. Because if you have a number there, it means that you have a plan for the funds. It means that you know what you're going to do. If you put max, it means that you're just looking for money. You have no plan. You have no game plan. So if you put down $100,000, explain why. $50,000 is going to marketing, $30,000 is going to employees, $20,000 is going to, equipment, renovations, or 30,000 is going towards just maintenance. I don't know, whatever it may be. But once you put that down, now you have a plan of what you're going to use the money for. You're just not going to get the money and that's it. What is the purpose of the funding? Obviously, which is most important to you, and this is very important when you're going for any type of financing, right? And this one, if it's a business credit card, if it's just funding, is most important to the amount of funds, or that you only receive 0% business credit cards. Do you have any W-2 employees? Yes or no? If yes, how many? There are programs out there that go based off of how many W-2 employees you have. Are you open to getting personal funding? Sometimes on the business side, you're not getting the maximum dollar amount that you want. You can also get personal funding. We do help you out with that. So that's why answering all these questions is very, very, very important. This is our revenue-based funding application. As you can see, it's much simpler. It's only one page, right? And not even that. I think it's 3/4 of a page, right? Business legal name, business DBA, business address, phone number, email address, legal business structure, if it's an LLC, sole prop, or corp, start date, type of business, tax ID, state incorporated, requested funding amount, purpose of funds, do you currently have any cash advances, the principal owner's credit score, his or her first and last name, percentage of ownership, home address, date of birth, social security number. That's it, right? Very, very simple. This is our application for revenue-based funding. They do have to make a minimum of $10,000 a month they do have to have business bank accounts. The good thing about revenue-based funding is the business could literally have been open for only 30 days. We are allowed to use 1 month worth of bank statements. They do have to have revenue. It can't just be zero. They have to have a minimum of $10,000. Longer, obviously, they're in business, the better the approval looks.